I think in terms of writing a story, that stuff is hard because you have to create almost an entire world and essentially create somebody's life. And like when I say anime, like Howl's Moving Castle or like Spirited Away or something like that, you or what is it called? Escaflowne. That's an older one. Um, you make it's very hard because you have to essentially make the whole arc of somebody's story. You know, you have the antagonist, you have the protagonist, and the antagonist is the one who's going to bring change to the protagonist. And even if you think the antagonist, in their perspective, they might be the protagonist. You know, they might be the person who's believed to be right. And so, in this journey and these arcs of story and these ideas, I think it's great because they show off what it means to have. You know, they show off a story and they give you some sort of learning perspective. Even in addition to the journey itself, there's always some sort of problem and some sort of solution, some sort of swelling of emotion and a decline from that swelling, or rather like some reliefs from that swelling. I keep forgetting, I don't really know the lady's name, but she's been mentioned a lot. She's mentioned that the beginning of an arc of a character has to start with that protagonist in believing a lie. So they have this initial thought that they believe, and throughout the process of their journey from the arcs and stuff like that, and the sub arcs, they come to know that what they used to believe isn't really holding much weight, you know. And so the Bible kind of has this idea in 1 Corinthians 3 about a person, you know, Christ being foundation. And so with Christ's foundation, his Christ is built on top of that foundation. And also for fear that if it's not Christ as a foundation, the cornerstone, when trouble comes, then that whole foundation topples. You know, so it's like it's not strong enough to hold all this other stuff. And so it's suggested, like, you know, if you, I really wouldn't even want to consider this to be secularist or even possible, but essentially the concept is that you need something very solid at the foundation. And if it's not, then you're going to go through the process in life of changing that so-called foundation. And it's changing the things that that foundation is built upon. And so this lady, speaks on these things to be projected as lies, and also to become uncovered as a truth. And so everything in the story has purpose. So if everything in the story has purpose, then everything from your fight scenes, from the story dynamics, the talking, it's not that, from what I can understand, it's not that these things have to be so intentional where it's like every word has to be intentional, but how they say it, the idea, the concept behind these things have to be intentional towards something. They catch useless dialogue. But the idea is that, like, it shouldn't be pretentious either, right? So pretentiousness is the idea that you're making something greater, making something great out of something that really wasn't great to begin with. So it's like creating the Willis Tower, but the Willis Tower is just a gift shop, just a glorified gift shop, you know. And it's interesting because from what I heard from psychologists, they say that the common term of a narcissist for someone else's, position, higher position, is a glorified secretary, which is kind of strange to me because it's like the inverse, because the position actually is great, but they have denoted it, or they've kind of, I wouldn't say patronized it, but they've made it little. They've made it lesser than. They've made that out to be like, it's just a small thing being put on a big thing. You know, essentially they're saying their job is pretentious, even though the status and the duties and responsibilities have projected itself to be otherwise. So, so the arcs and the storylines of these characters, they don't have to be so grandiose unless the character's grandiose and there's some lesson from it. But especially in movies and different kinds of media, each character in this story has something to learn within themselves and among others. Excuse me. I think that's why the Marvel Cinematic Universe is such a great thing. I've heard it being said there's a formula, but regardless of that formula, I think the formula does well. You know, I'm not going to complain about it, but I think the characters, like for instance, in the Avengers, Tony Stark's issue within the Avengers is that he's too prideful, he's too selfish. And at the very end, in Endgame, when he dies, he does the most selfless act of all, right? Captain America, from what I can understand, his character arc at the start is that he's too trusting, and then at the very end, he learns to deny the very government that he once put his allegiance to. Like Widow, trusting people, allowing people in, being that person who cares for others, who's responsible for others, who isn't affected by her past, to someone who's affecting change in other people, so that they won't repeat what she's done, or not even repeat what she's done, but just to give them a new future. So it's like regretting the past, making a new future, you know, to the point where they literally go to the past and change their future. But and this is what every other person and like their personalities and personality type. I just learned this about in terms of a person is that their personality is like it's like the climate, so something that's almost constant, and the responses or like the disorders or like the illnesses is like the weather that comes through. You know, the climate never changes, but the weather that comes through is specific to that climate. So you get these personality types, NITNJ or whatever like that. These are all personality types, which you can probably use, and it's good. It's great because it helps you understand like how they interact with each other. And maybe I'm gonna try to look into that to see, like, you know, okay, how can I have them interact with each other? Because I think it's a lot, you know. But to learn how to, I think starting off small, I'm gonna try to do that. I think I have all these ideas, but it's like it's so hard. But I think I'm just gonna start off real small, and then kind of gradually build myself up. But yeah, this is my thoughts on the storyline. That's all. See, take care, guys.